Good morning, Leeds United fans. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe football show. As you can see, I've got the lovely Andrea with me today. The news is quite thin on the ground. There doesn't seem to be any sort of brand new stories out there. However, across the pond, but it's not. I don't know where. I don't know. Down at the old lady where the little boot is, more transfers are getting speaking about. Predominantly Krstovic, of course, Luiz and stuff as well. So who better than to clarify Italian news reports than everyone's favourite Italian, Mr. Andrea Russo. So I thought I would speak with him. So yeah, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit the notification bell, and of course, make sure you go follow Andrea on Twitter as well. Sorry, I'm just looking at this. Yes, now Russo for director of football. It'd be all right, wouldn't it?
I wish, man. I wish.
Same.
Everyone's dream, you know.
Well, no, actually, I don't wish I'd be director of football because the club would be ruined. I have faith in you, but not so much me. But how's things with you, mate? You good?
Yeah, fine. I'm here in my office with, as you can see behind me, air conditioning at maximum because we're under a tremendous heat wave here in Italy. Honestly, man, it's so hot. I don't know how the weather is up there in Yorkshire, but
last few weeks it's been really hot, mate. But it's cooled a bit now. But yeah, it's been really hot.
Good for you then, because here it's literally, you know, it's boiling. It's absolutely, I've never seen anything like this in June. But yeah, you know, hopefully some transfers in Italy become hot too, you know.
Yeah.
After the heat wave, you know.
Well, I spoke with you on this one the other day, and obviously the YEP have spoken about it at length, and it's been pushed. The agenda seems to be pushed from Italy when we talk about Krstovic. What's been the latest there? Because obviously they said we had a bid accepted, and then the Leeds side said, no, nothing's happening. But I've seen it on Leeds Live again today, and I was like, oh, is it still being mentioned? Apparently 21 million, but then the other day they said it had been accepted. So what's going on with it? I'm after thinking it's probably not true at this point, Andrea.
Honestly, I tend to believe it's true, to be fair, because I trust Moretto and I trust Fabrizio Romano, and Moretto is collaborating because he was at Relevo before then Relevo closed. You know, he had a good career between I think it was Sky and Fox Sports here in Italy. So it's a young upcoming journalist, very reputable, and works very closely to Fabrizio Romano. So I think their sources are always often reputable, and they verify that. So I still think there's a lot of truth in that, to be fair. It's very odd to see, though, that one side in Italy says, oh, this is practically a done deal. And in Yorkshire, you know, the local press saying, no, they never contacted him. It's very odd.
The Yorkshire side, like the press, better hope it's not true, because if it goes through, they're gonna, like, Eggy's gonna be on their face, man. That's an expression in England. If you
I know.
Oh, you know this one, yeah. What I found quite interesting, you can give me your opinion on this. Graham did say, and it's not his opinion, but he said, this is on the latest Inside Ellen Road podcast, someone had relayed to him that if the links were true, Krstovic would walk over hot coals to move to the Premier League and to Leeds United. Do you agree with that? Like he would do anything for a move?
Actually, it's not down to my opinion, but it's interesting what Graham said there, you know, because I've been checking yesterday night, the local press, we are talking about the local press in Yorkshire. I checked the local press in Lecce.
Okay.
The local one. And they say the opposite. They said he prefers, actually, I have the article here, I can read a bit, you know. What is it? Here. This is Quotidiano de Puglia, which means like the translation would be like a Yorkshire journal.
Okay,
something like that, you know. It's like Puglia, a local Puglia newspaper from Lecce. So what they say basically on Krstovic is this one. Wait a second, so I can find the one here. Okay, here it is. basically says that Leeds insist with Krstovic, but he's taking time, he's basically waiting. He wants to wait because his preferred destination, again, is Italy. And there's big clubs, like I said, that that may want him if the dominoes fall into place. Like they sell a player, they get another player. Like the example I gave you the other day on Moise Kean with Fiorentina. If he leaves, then there's an option for him. If Atalanta sell Lukman, there's an option for Krstovic at Atalanta. Roma too, they are trying to sell Shomurodov, who is actually right now at the minute the backup of Dovbyk at Roma. They are trying to sell him to Cremonese, newly promoted side. Seems the deal is very advanced at the minute in Italy. If they sell Shomurodov, then they have the backup spot for Dovbyk open, and they play in the Europa League next season. And I think that's why also Krstovic wants to wait. You also need to consider this. He is from Golubovci, Montenegro. There was a very big, best probably, of course, it's debatable between Jovetic and Vucinic, but Mirko Vucinic started his Italian career at Lecce. Then he moved to Roma. So Vucinic is also an example, a mentor for all the Montenegrin players. They all look up the strikers to him, and he was very successful because he had all his big career in Italy: Lecce, Roma, and Juventus. So I think also the fact that they were, also reporting this, Lecce was involved in a relegation scrap this season, and they say Krstovic may not want to be involved in another relegation scrap next season because, he may get a big move. Then next season, maybe, they say Leeds may get relegated, and the season after, he has a contract and he will stay in the Championship. He doesn't want to play in a second tier,
No.
So he's waiting for clubs that will challenge for Europe in Italy, rather than go to right now. Of course, he will accept that if the top clubs don't arrive from Italy, because he prefers the European places, the top European side, even as a backup, rather than be involved in a relegation scrap in England, because it's not certain, according to Italian press, to the local press in Lecce, that he wanted to be involved again after this season with Lecce to a new relegation battle with Leeds.
Mm-hmm. It's all about timing as well for footballers, isn't it? When do they make the move, etc. So you believe there is stuff to it. And again, like I say, if the move does end up happening, then and to be honest, I don't know what your thoughts are, but do you almost feel he's second choice behind someone like Rodrigo Muniz? And what I found quite interesting, actually, they are also after another striker, aren't they? That's two now they've been linked to. So that I found quite interesting yesterday, because that tells me they're definitely in the market for another striker, Andrea. I think I'm just trying to find the
Romulo.
You're aware of the player, yeah?
Yeah, he was in the extended list the other day. Yeah.
So he's currently at Göztepe, is it?
Göztepe, yeah, from Izmir in Turkey. Yeah.
So in Turkey, right? Okay, so they're looking at him and also looking at the guy Pepe, I think from the States. So they're clearly in the market for a striker. Pepe, it looks to me, that Leeds United they have their top targets, but what they're also doing is lining up secondary targets. So we could look at Diarra, for example. Like Diarra clearly is target number one. Siddiqui maybe number two, and then we've been linked today to Matti Kamara from Stade Bretois, is it? But I'm not sure how reliable that is. Us and Sunderland, apparently. I just checked that from the chat, but again, I'm not aware. But they're reporting that he's seen as an alternative target.
Kamara. Yeah, we will talk about him, me and Loki, because there's also another one, Madi Kamara, but he plays in Greece. It was linked to us a couple of years ago. Maybe you remember him. He used to play for Strasbourg. Not for Salzburg. I think. Very good player if it is true. Madi Kamara.
It definitely looks like Leeds are in this lining up process. So
I agree.
Obviously, Muniz doesn't happen. Do you think Krstovic is second choice, or would he be target number one for you?
I think it's Muniz, Krstovic, and then you have other ones. But yeah, I think Muniz might end up staying at Fulham actually.
Yeah,
because,
well, I spoke to a Fulham fan yesterday, and he said exactly the same. I'm going to bring him on over the weekend. He said, like, I don't see him moving, Joe, unless you pay 45 million, which I don't think we'll do that, you know?
I agree, mate, absolutely, because first it will mean to sell to another Premier League club.
Yeah.
That might be in a similar place if we do a good, very good transfer window. You know, of course, the first target is safety, first and foremost. But I really trust the 49ers recruitment, so I think we'll have a very fun team to watch this season at the end of the window. To be fair, but yeah, they have also Raúl Jiménez now this season. They add him too, so they need to add some bodies because in the end, Jiménez is 34 years old.
Year. Yeah, it's his final year as well.
So they might try to load it to sell him, you know, to try to gain some money from him, you know, because of course he'll have offers even from Mexico or other clubs, you know. So if you sell, for example, Jimenez for a low price, considering that he's in his final year, like you said, you know, then you have to bring in other players, and of course Romulo is a good player, Pepe, other good player. So honestly, it's I think there's a hierarchy that we're looking at, you know, like you said, for Diarra, Sadiki, and maybe Madi Camara too. So yeah, it's good because you always need to have the plan B. Remember the January transfer windows when we failed, for example, in the last 2 seasons to get some players apart from Connor Roberts. We didn't have the plan B or time to get a plan B, and we ended up in the end we returned to the Premier League, but it was very risky because if we had some injuries, we would have been forced to move some players from their natural position to a position where they were not naturals, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I've just seen that as well. VOC has just said there that we have just seen that apparently a deal will be done for Polish star Marcin Bulka. Yeah, I tell you what, mate, Sunderland are doing some good deals, to be fair to them.
Yeah, I agree, because in the end, you know, their owner, Louis Dreyfus, they always operate in the French market. You know, you see when they got the midfielder from Lens, last Samed, I think, last season.
As well. They
Enzo Lefebvre.
Yeah.
Enzo Lefebvre, Mayenda, all these players, even Michu back in the day. Now his career hasn't gone upward like some would have expected, you know. But yeah, they know the market, and even Loriente, you know, they have the pool of Lebris. He has managed all these players like Lefebvre, Loriente, at Lorient when they were coming to the academy. Then he gave them their debut, you know, in the first team, so they know very well how he plays. So they have a good owner with a lot of money, and also manager that knows very well the French market. So I think they are working in harmony, the two of them, with the transfer department, of course, to exploit from the French market.
Yeah. No, exactly, mate. I agree. Now let's talk about, we touched on midfield, but let's talk about Douglas Luiz, because he continues to be linked. I was on a show just yesterday, a panel show on an Arsenal channel, and someone mentioned it, and I was like, look, we got no chance, because he could go to a host of clubs. Like it was a Forest fan who asked me if Forest could take him. Do you know what I mean? And if there was any, this is just my opinion, but if there was any sort of truth in it, even if he was close to moving to Leeds, then another Premier League club would just come in and snap him. I feel like what's been reported in Italy, mate, 'cause I saw it in the press again today.
Yeah, exactly what you said, man. You've been right in those articles, probably, because they say like they want to. You were looking to attract. You know, they've put like 30 million euros as a price tag for him. You know, but they hope that the low price will attract more clubs in order to start a bidding war. You know, for the player, because they got him for a total of 50 million euros last season for Aston Villa. Of course, in the deal there were also the parallel deal of Ealing Jr. and Barrenechea going from Juve to Aston Villa, but they are looking to try to recoup that money, you know. Because I'm glad we mentioned Lefebvre, because he signed from Ligue 1 to actually Roma last summer, you know, for a very high price. I think it was around 25 million euros. He barely played at Roma. In January, they loaned him out to Sunderland, and they placed the mandatory obligation to buy if they got promoted. And I think it's around 23, 24 million euros. So they recoup completely what they had spent last summer on Lefebvre when they got him from Ligue 1. And I think it's very similar what Juve want to do here, because honestly, the player had a terrible season at Juve. Never fit. He was played as a number 6 in certain games. With Motta, the feeling was never there. When Tudor arrived, it was basically marginal. We seen it yesterday, not involved against Man City too. And you see the midfield of Juve, McKennie, Cop Miners, Locatelli. Honestly, I think Douglas Luiz is better than Locatelli, for example, and he is better than McKennie, in the end. We've seen also the difference of intensity and tactics between Juve, a Serie A side, and Man City, a Premier League side, So I also read, before going live, I checked what the press was saying, the reputable ones, Gazzetta dello Sport, the main Italian sports newspaper, and also Tutto Sport, who of course are biased in some case, but they are based in Turin, and they often have good sources on Juve, because they are based in Turin. They also, if you watch the All or Nothing Juventus, it sees that they mainly report on Juve, so they have good connections in that. And I was reading that in January on Gazzetta dello Sport, Chelsea had asked for Douglas Luiz on loan, but Juve didn't let him go. And right now on this article, they also said that the other clubs interested this summer are Newcastle United, Nottingham Forest, and Fulham. So I think we also need to remember that
we're bottom of that list, aren't we?
Yeah, we're not in that list. This article is from 1 week ago. Basically, the one on the recent one says that they have lowered the price, but in order to hope that the clubs interested start a bidding war for him, because in the end he has an agent, Bertolucci, who has a lot of players, like for example in the Premier League, he has Mateus Cunha, Gabriel, Bruno Guimaraes, Andre Santos, and also other players that are playing in Saudi Arabia. So another option talked for Douglas Luiz in Italy is Saudi Arabia. Actually, he's 27. We've seen he will, and the main pro in that case would be that he earns 5 million euros net and 9 million euros gross. 5 million euros gross and 9 million euros net. Sorry for the misspelling of that. So he is high earner. Because our biggest owner is, I think, 3.5 million, around that numbers, Bamford right now, because it was the contract that he signed when we were in the Premier League, So it will be on big money for Leeds United on its Douglas Luiz, and will they need to lower his salary if he goes from a Champions League club to a newly promoted side in the Premier League? If I were him, I'd say no. I am coming to you from the Champions League. I am a player of. I am your top player, So I need to see that reflected in my salary, And a club, honestly, that can still offer him those salaries are the clubs in Saudi Arabia. To be fair, so it's something to monitor, In that case, the connection to Saudi Arabia, where his agent has already placed some other Brazilian players,
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't see Luiz ever being on our radar. And like you said, good. Yeah. It cost a pretty penny. Fabrizio Romano has been speaking as well. Was asked about Leeds and Diarra. He said we had a 22 million bid rejected earlier this month. We're still pursuing the deal. We're in negotiations. He's really appreciated by the football club. I know the club's maintained that they're not confident, but the fact we're still going, surely they've had some sort of steer from the player to say might consider it. Apparently he's one of the most appreciated options internally, but it's not an easy deal because of the valuation. So it's still complicated to make it happen, but Leeds are still trying for Diarra. That's from Romano. So what do we make of that one, mate? Because look, the fact that we're still at the table tells me that surely something could still happen.
Yeah, it's that case, to be fair, but I'm not that optimistic, to be fair, because we've seen against England the type of player he is, and that game will only look at the youth from Slavia Prague. That game they played against England will only help to raise their status. And honestly, Diarra played a good season, a very good season for Strasbourg. He loves Jutus. It won't cost on. It won't cost. Yeah, it would cost crazy money, to be fair. So there's clubs that can afford that, and I think already at this stage he can aim for clubs that will play in Europe, to be fair, because he's a player that eventually will get to those clubs. But I think he already can aim to go to one of those clubs, and we need to consider to that the fact that we talked about that for Emmanuel Emega recently when we were doing the scouting report. Very good player, but he will get signed by Chelsea because they are owned by the same company, Strasbourg and Chelsea. Maybe they'll loan him out next season back to Strasbourg, and he will join Chelsea in 2026. They might do the same for Diarra. We don't know. We know that Chelsea, with the good players in Strasbourg, they don't let him go, because they have the same company. And I think it will be very difficult, but it's still good to hear that we are still at the table. If not, option B, Sadiki, they've just signed a player at Union Saint-Gilloise from Charleroi, a center midfielder. So that might be Sadiki on his way out, and I think it's as good as Diarra, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's positive that we've got other things lined up. Someone has just said that I'm getting a bit nervous about lots of links, but nothing concrete. Dave, to be honest, the YEP did an article yesterday and said sources at the club did expect a quiet end to the week and maybe more progress will be made on deals next week. Don't forget as well, in 3 days' time, it'll be the 1st of July, and then the transfer window is really going to kick in. You're going to see a lot of moves, and once dominoes start to fall, we'll also be there. Because as soon as a striker moves, like look at Gyökeres, Sesko, etc., one of them moves to Arsenal, then the other one goes Man United, and then it all just starts going boom, 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 boom. So same with goalkeepers, etc. So we'll just have to bide our time. I wasn't expecting anything today, and when I went on the news, there wasn't really much. It's just the same stories sort of regurgitated at the minute. So I'm not too concerned. I'm still quite calm about the transfer window, Andrea.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned Gyökeres, because I think Sporting might be also an option for Krstovic. I forgot to say that earlier, but they are talking about Sporting Lisbon too, because if they sell Gyökeres, they already made a very good business deal with Lecce in the past when they signed Morten Hjulmand, who went under the radar in the Serie A to the Italian big clubs. Because of the price. I think Lecce got around 35-40 million for Hjulmand to sign him from Lecce, and now he's their captain, starter for Denmark. So they have a good channel established with Sporting Lisbon. And Sporting, when they sign on big money, they always reinvested money on more underrated players like Konrad Arder now, Zeno De Bast. They have some very good underrated players who are now worth a lot of money, when they can look to resell to big money, like Gyökeres and the players that I mentioned.
Loads of stuff will start to happen, and I'm quite confident in the 49ers. I'm genuinely quite confident that they're going to get the right deals this time around. So it's all chill, man. We were chatting, weren't we? You were saying you watched Juve versus City yesterday, and it made you think, oh, damn, this is going to be difficult. Because City are back. The level's gone up again. Sorry, mate.
Bless you.
Thank you. Does it worry you seeing how good City were yesterday?
Yeah, it worried me, because of course Juve didn't have a good season. In the end, they qualified for the Champions League on the last day after a win at Venezia. But the difference, like I said, the difference between the Serie A, even the top clubs, and Man City, not in terms of talent or quality, but especially down to intensity is massive. City were going 3 times faster than Juve yesterday. moving all around, the tactics. Of course, it's Pep.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Guardiola. And it's a level on his own, a league of his own. But even the other sides, the difference in intensity between, if you pair, for example, Bologna or maybe Como, Torino to like a team, especially Como and Torino. Bologna, I think they show last season that they can, go toe-to-toe with the top sides because they play a very attacking style. Bologna and Atalanta are the ones with the more intensity in Italy. They play a very similar style to English clubs in terms of intensity. But like mid-table clubs like Como, Torino, Parma, this side will get battered by teams fighting to avoid relegation in the Premier League. But not down only to talent, especially because of the intensity, the pace, the fitness. Look at Italy versus Norway. We got battered by Norway, but on fitness levels, they were running 4 times faster than us. It's a problem. It's a problem eradicated. Eradicated. Sorry, in Italian football, the intensity, the fitness. We work too much on tactics, especially defensively, but in terms of fitness, especially beer, we need to adapt to because
I was just going to say, to be fair, I was going to say, Biol he's going to have some adjustment to make coming from Serie A, to be fair, to the Premier League, to be fair.
Exactly. I saw a special on Sky Italy yesterday on Calafiori, when he was interviewing, going around in London, on a cab. And he said the main difference here is that, like Koulibaly said, he said, I needed the time to adopt because the amount of pressure you get when you have the ball is completely different to what I was used to in Italy. And he qualified for the Champions League with Bologna in Italy, imagine. And Bologna are an attacking-minded side. The good sides in Italy, very similar to English sides, are Bologna and Atalanta, in my point of view, because they played an oriented, pressing, offensive-minded football. But even Calafiori, one of the top players in Serie A, he said, "Oh, I needed time because it's so different." For me, it was like a season of I consider this season a season of where I needed time to adapt. Next season it will be different because I know what I'm going to face. The league, the levels of this league now. So I will prepare differently. I know what I'm going to face.
You bang on the money though, because I remember Koulibaly at Napoli was like, "This guy's a beast. He's an animal." He come to the Premier League and it just swallowed him up, man. He was no good in the league whatsoever. I did say, to be fair, a lot of times. I don't know if you'd have you picked up on that, but it was just to wind this guy up here. So a lot of people put it in the chat as well. So I thought I'm going to join in that as well.
Like me with
Yeah.
To be fair, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, it is what it is, man. Why do people get annoyed? FIFA Club World Cup playoffs, mate. What have you made to the Club World Cup? I've not watched all of it, but I'm actually going to be covering the games. I think there wasn't a lot of interest in the group stage, but I think now it's got to the knockout. Who do you pick to win, mate? Are we looking at PSG, Man City final potentially? What do you reckon?
I think Man City will be probably the favorite. Honestly, they've been playing very good football.
Yeah.
I think some of the European sides look very tired, but it's not an excuse. Even the Brazilian sides, the South American ones, they've been playing much games than the European sides, but yet they look sharp. Look at Botafogo, for example. I think the idea behind the Club World Cup is good. The execution probably it's needs to be reviewed, but I think they will, especially because we've seen games. They happen even in the national teams World Cup. They will have a very low crowd, like if they played
massive stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, massive stadiums. They needed to play like in a smaller stadium, like MLS stadiums for those games, not the big one like the Rose Bowl. Of course, they would have sold out crowds for the knockout stages, the very big games,
games, yeah, of course.
Yeah. For the very big games, but for other ones, I think the execution has been poorly addressed. Like Mamelodi Sundowns against Ulsan.
Yeah,
it will be the same like Kuwait against. Yeah.
what I hate the most is the single player walkouts. They are
Yeah.
absolutely
NBA.
it's horrible. Honestly, it's horrible seeing them on. And next up, you know, like I was like, what is going on here, man? It's horrible.
Yeah, they don't know that football, not soccer, is different, and it has originated in Europe. They're trying to do the walkouts like they do in the NBA, especially in the NBA, with the starting lineup, the starting five, before the games, and these are massive. If you go and look and check in the 90s, the Chicago Bulls won, the Seattle Supersonics won, the Detroit Pistons ones, great, but you can do that in
can't do it
football.
for 22
Yeah,
players either, can
yeah,
you? It's too long.
exactly.
Like 5,
Exactly.
I get it. And when you're like Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, Scotty, fair enough, but not like fucking, I don't know, Mark Cucurella next up. You know what I mean? Tossing Adebayo. It's like, for fuck's sake, this is boring.
Yeah, looks like a show, like a circus in a certain sense.
Silly, man.
But yeah, we will see some good games now in the knockout stages.
I think so as well. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Well, Andre, I won't keep you all day, mate. I think we'll finish up there. We've covered all the latest Leeds United news.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a quiet weekend, folks, and then hopefully from Monday it'll start to pick up again. But thanks as always for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Go show some love to Andrea on Twitter. He's come during his working day as well, so definitely show him some love. And I'll maybe see you tonight. It depends. To be honest, probably highly unlikely because I don't think there's going to be any news now till Monday, so it's going to be quite a quiet weekend. So I'll see you in a bit, folks. To be fair, bye-bye.